kind of things out of a more dynamic sense. So some of the earliest climate models treated the sea as a very shallow lake, and that ice didn't shift. Of all the things you would think will change with a warming world, they would say ice fields are going to be static. So you can see why some of those things have become dynamic fairly quickly. Now they've realised the human parts do as well. And the reason for this is because humans don't respond necessarily the way of that mitigation. So this is some of the original IPCC scenarios about how emissions might change through time. And they were basically created by people sitting down and discussing what could happen in a bit of a storytelling sense. Okay? The newest set is actually over here, where they've started to bring in more mitigation and more responses. So some reference levels to compare back to here, and some ones that really start to play out that mitigation. Now, to be honest, as a fisheries modeller, as my major background, they fell down in one spot. They forgot to have the dynamic response of humans. So they forgot to allow for humans to make it much worse than it currently was. So if we think about the actual observations in emissions, so this little dip here is a bit of an aberration, that's when the GFC kicked in. But you can see that we've since more than compensated for it in the amount of emissions that we're putting out. And we're pretty much not seeing a tail off. None of the descriptive scenarios, even the worst case scenarios, potentially predicted the level of emissions that we're actually reducing. And that's probably because they didn't build the human feedbacks into the system and the inertia in those feedbacks. They just assumed that people would respond to.
What is GFC?
Sorry?
GFC?
The global financial crisis. So when the world went belly up economically there for a little while, the emissions dropped off, industry kicked back in places like Australia, where there was very little signature of the GFC, and so it was more than compensated that.
But eventually the growth is not back to where it was.
For some countries it is though. So Australia, our growth rate is 5%. We're just ripping things out of the ground left, right, centre and burning them. So we have quite a large contribution to that. China and India as well. They have, Europe and America might be in a bit of a depressed state, but the rest of the world is still going gangbusters. Now, one of the things of human nature is that we tend to think about things knowing the tools that we already have. So my grandfather was a carpenter, and he liked to say, if you only know how to use a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Okay, so we tend to get very myopic about the topics that we know about and just apply what we already know. So if you ask the physicists to try and have an integrated model of the world, it would look somewhat like that. If you ask the biologist, and if you ask an economist, what we need is to have a more general handling over all three of those. So I spoke about before that we didn't have humans in those climate models, and what we had was they did try to talk, but literally you would have a physicist run the global climate model, you would email his results to an economist, you would run an economics model using that physics model as a driver, you would email his results back to the physicist, and by the time you did that at IPCC level, it was taking a decade to get that loop closed. So it needs to be a little bit more dynamic than that. The problem is that people tend to think of themselves, or a lot of the world thinks of itself as separate to nature. So if we go all the way back to the way that people thought during hunter-gatherer societies, it really was intermingled. We weren't separate to the world. You can see this in some of the ancient religions. So Hindu is the oldest known religion, and they're still a part of that integrated whole. So overconsumption is considered inappropriate in the Hindu religion because you just don't do that. It's an immoral part of the way that you treat the world. Unfortunately, in the West, two things happened. They obviously happened in the East as well, the technology side, but in the West we also had Western religions pop up. And with that, you can see in the psychopsychologists, eco-psychopsychologists, I hate to say the name, basically you look through the history, and at that point was when humans suddenly said, actually we're a steward of the world, we're separate from it. So the Western world took a very big divergence at that point and said, right, we're separate from the world, we can control it and look after it, but we're not a part of it. And that's come to condition pretty much the way that we think in the West about the world. So everything since then, so the invention of agriculture, we start to control the world even more, we directly control the world. The way we invented literature and language, that really deeply conditions the way that we think about problems. A really great example of that is how they found the genes for limbs. So they're looking for the gene for falling. The English team was looking for one gene because, I'm going to get this back to front. I don't know any German. So the Germans were looking for, I'm pretty sure it was, the English were looking gene for a limb, a forelimb. The Germans were looking for two genes, a limb, and then the one that made it at the front. And the Germans found it because it was two genes. So the way that people were thinking about the question and the language that they used conditioned how they responded to that problem. And so the more that we started to develop things like rational thought, and then pinnacle today, more people spend time watching televisions in Australia than actually being outside. They spend more time going to theme parks than national parks. It's a pretty sad statistic for Australia, but it's true. 95% of our population lives in a city in Australia, so there's a very big disconnect. And it's something that psychologists actually worry about a lot, and it does condition the way that we tend to interact with the world. The pinnacle of me behind the computer, or something like being behind a computer. Problem we get tripped into, though, is that mathematics has been quite an effective way of representing the physical world, even without thinking about humans. So we all use weather models on a daily basis. Not too many humans in those, so we think that they'll be fine. But what we really need to do is a different way of thinking about the world, so we do have that integration. So thinking back to that little cartoon before, we need to have more of these parts of the system being dynamic, because it does condition the responses they see. So what do we have to hand? So we've got economics tools, and they have some that have also been useful to a point. The problem that they have is that it doesn't necessarily deal with surprises. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the term the black swan. So in Europe, all swans were white, and they said you couldn't have a black swan until they came to Australia where all swans are black. So that surprise event that can jump up and surprise you. The part that got me when I first started to do it was when you get one of those big economic models of the world, it's not like a physics model where they put in the processes and then see if they can reproduce the past to give you some confidence. They actually drive it. They say, this has already happened, let's go from here. So it can't naturally reproduce that past by itself, which is a problem when you're trying to see how the processes interact if you're going to do forecasting in the future. Back in 2009, when I first did this slide, if you typed the word rational behaviour into Google, you got those two images as your first hits. They probably are the two extremes, potentially, of rational behaviour. There were some problems on the social science front of trying to bring people's thought processes into models. A lot of social scientists and then a lot of other people thought they can't model humans. It's not actually true. You can model what I would call human climate. So just as we can get a pretty good model of the general climate, but we can't do weather exactly well all the time, you get a pretty good general model of the way humans behave, even if I can't exactly predict what Barish is going to do at lunchtime. Okay, so we can get that general human climate okay, and it's because we've figured out that there's some basic collective needs that we all have. Food, shelter, that kind of stuff, some contextual stuff. So, for instance, I have children, so they play a big part in what I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Then there's some big things that just happen to you, so for me the global financial crisis was something I couldn't do anything about, it just happened, had to deal with it. And all of those together come out to be the way that you experience things and then how you respond to things. So if you can break it down the same kind of process way that we're used to breaking down the natural world, then you can get through stuff. So if you think about all the different parts of the world, pretty much there are models for all the different parts. What we're lacking is the governance end of things. We don't do models of that very well yet. But also tying these bits together, and we'll hear more about that during the So why is it an important part? Basically, if you look at the last IPCC report, we think about where these systems start to have severe problems versus where they can adapt, where they can just cope with degree of temperature change. You start to bring in cumulative effects, you can see that those places that it goes from green to orange to red shift quite dramatically. And that's one of the aspects of human nature, is to parcel the problem up a little bit at a time, we'll get grip with that bit, and then we'll move on. The problem is that it's actually acting cumulatively and synergistically, and the direction of that action can change as more things come together. So back in about, I think it was 2008 now, I had a bit of a crack at applying some of the system methods I use to the question. We'd heard quite a lot from people like Stern and Ghana in Australia how climate change wasn't going to be a big deal. All it would do would take the growth we would see and then drop it by maybe 5%. So we'd still get more than a doubling in GDP and all that kind of stuff. There'd be this tiny little twiddling. I started to get suspicious about what was in those was as bad as it could actually get. And if you deconstruct those models, 5% is as much of a drop as it can do. If it gets to 5%, it's actually saying, I want to go further, it's just that model won't let me go further. So you've got to put in some of those feedbacks to see what the potential could really be. So all I did was grab existing models from around Australia, I tied them together and chucked in very simple representation, so there's a lot more work to do in this case. But very simple representation for some of the processes that have been assumed to be fixed. So if you can think about another example of an assumption that you would immediately question. In Australia, our population is likely to double by 2050, but most of that doubling will be in people over the age of 65. It's going to be a very heavily aged population. The demography in all the Australian productivity, GDP, Ghana report had assumed a fixed demography of today, which is a much younger generation. So they weren't looking and thinking about ability to produce things, social welfare issues, all those kind of things. We had to have build in some very simple representations of those kind of issues. What we did is if we thought about some, where my scenarios go? We think about the scenarios for a while. I just played with a couple. Some of them were business as usual, so basically don't do anything. Just assume that some magic step happened at some point, which seems to be some of the Australian population's attitude. The other end is rising to the challenge, where people actually dug in and said, right, we're going to really embrace this, we're going to try and find new technologies, try and make a green economy, really do something about it, make it a positive rather than a negative. So if we take those scenarios and run them forward, you can see over that range of scenarios, with one is the values today, there's some parts of the system that the damage already done is just going to be too great. So for instance, acidification is likely to impact corals regardless now because it's going to have such a long lag time in the ocean. But there's other parts of the system that if you give them the space and because of the effects, the nature of the effects of the environmental change, it doesn't have to be a negative story. You can have fish populations that are quite healthy. Tourism and fisheries industries that are quite healthy, as long as they're allowed to show adaptation. And there's some really great examples in Australia right now about how some ingrained, well-intentioned responses coming out of communities about concerns is actually preventing social and economic adaptation that would be beneficial in the long term. So short-term drivers and long-term drivers have collided. On the human side of things, flooding and damage from extreme events is likely to go through the roof, basically, in Australia in the next 30 to 40 years. One of the biggest costs will be in our defence. So we have quite a large land mass. Some parts of it will actually become more hospitable under climate change, others much less so. But we're going to have 300 million people in islands to our north that just have no land left because the seas come up. So in a culture and a nation that's tried to fence itself off from the world by taking refugees and putting them in compounds or sending the boats away again, it's going to become quite expensive to have that government policy as the world around us changes. So this is all about trying to get people's awareness that having those interactions in there is quite important. Even Australia's energy infrastructure is going to be much less useful with rising temperatures because the power lines themselves can conduct electricity as well. They're all still above ground in this case. Okay, so ultimately what would happen was that you could get a rise in GDP if you allowed for innovation, but actually well more, at the time was much more likely. So in Australia, the global financial crisis caused a 1 to 2% decline. So this is talking about 15 to 20% drop in our GDP, which is much more significant that's even happening in Europe right now. So without those feedbacks, and being forewarned about those feedbacks, there would have been some nasty surprises for sure. So basically, there's been a tendency to focus on topics that we know a lot about and to sort of think about refining those. Okay, we'll get these working exactly right before we spread our wings to something that's a little bit more unusual, a little bit more out of the box. And we need to sort of get past that natural intention and say, right, we have to go a bit broader from the start and bring in those critical feedbacks to truly make it a socio-ecological